Hi class, how are you today? That's a thing. Okay. The learning target for today is to solve equations and state which property was used. So last year we did so much with solving equations. Now we're going to solve them, and each step I want to know what property was used for that step. For 3, you can solve equations and state which property was used. 2, you can solve equations, but you don't know which property was being used in each step. 1, you know the properties of equality, but you can't solve equations. And 0, you don't know the properties of equality and you can't solve equations. Let's get started. Alright, so we have this problem, 3x minus 6 equals 18. And we want to solve for x. So, what we're going to do here is to solve this equation. So, first let's do it how we did it last year. Last year, you would say that there's a minus 6 here, so let's add 6 to both sides. Gives you 3x equals 24, divide by 3, and you get x equals 8. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set it up in a table like I was showing you in the last couple classes, and we're going to solve the equation that way. So set up a table. You don't know how many steps it'll take at first whenever you're solving an equation. So just put a couple and then keep adding on. So we start with the first equation. 3x minus 6 equals 18. And that part's given to us. That's the problem. First part's always given. Then we have a minus 6 here, so we need to get rid of that, so we add it to both sides. So instead of putting it underneath like we did there, what's actually happening is you're putting it inside the equation on both sides of the equal sign. So you're taking your 3x minus 6 and you're adding 6 to both sides. So you add 6 on that side of the equal sign, and then same thing on the right side. Add 6. So all we did was take this equation and add 6 to the left side of the equals and add 6 to the right side of the equals. Okay? Now, which property did we use? Well, we added the same number to both sides, so it's the addition property of equality. Okay, next, well, we added 6 to both sides, so let's see what that gives us. On the left side, combine like terms, so the 3x stays 3x. Minus 6 plus 6, those cancel. So all you're left with on the left side is 3x. On the right side, 18 plus 6 is 24. And all we did was actually do the math out. We combined like terms. So every time you do something like combine like terms or simplify, you're replacing something with what it's equal to. So the one property you'll use a lot in every single one of these the substitution property of equality. Alright, next step. We have a 3 here in front of the x. We want to get rid of that. So it's multiplying, we do the opposite, and we divide. So we take the 3x equals 24, and we want to divide both sides by the number in front of x. So divide both sides by 3. So divide left side by 3, divide the right side by 3. So we divide both sides by 3. That is the division. Property of equality. And one more step. 3x divided by 3, the 3's cancel. That'll leave x. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. So x equals 8. And again, you just did the math out, so substitution property of equality. So same thing we did last year, just did the steps out a bit more and wrote the properties of each. Other than that, it's the same process. Alright, let's do one more example. So this is a bit much more of a difficult one. If you would like a little bit more in-depth on solving equations, feel free to watch my videos from last year. Or ask for help, of course. But so this equation will go through most steps in solving an equation anyway. So let's go in this one. So first, let's just put it in a table. Alright, so the first equation was given to us, so property is given. Then, here we have distributive property. We've got something multiplying by something in parentheses. Always do the distributive property first before anything else. So let's get rid of that first. So remember, in the distributive property, you need to multiply 4 by everything inside the parentheses. So we have 4 times 3x, and then let's just put a plus here for now. There was a minus, but we'll just have the minus there for the negative 9. So we've got a plus, and then 4 times negative 9. Okay? So 4 times 3x, and then 4 times negative 9. Okay? And then everything else drops down. Plus 5 equals 2x plus 19. So, like I said, we did the distributive property there. So that's what we write. Distributive property. Alright, so next we have 4 times 3x and 4 times negative 9. Let's do those out. So that'll give us 12x, and then 4 times negative 9 will give us a negative 36. And then we have the plus 5 here equals 2x plus 19. And we just did the math out, so substitution property of equality. If you want to abbreviate, that's perfectly fine as long as I can tell what you're talking about. So the thing is, though, substitution property of equality and subtraction property of equality, they're kind of similar in abbreviations. So I would say the best I would accept for substitution property of equality would be subs or subst for substitution. I'll take that. Next, we can combine like terms right here. So that's the next thing we're going to do. 12x, and then negative 36 plus 5 is a negative 31, equals 2x plus 19. And again, substitution property of equality. Okay? Next. Now there's no more combining like terms or simplifying. Now we've got x's on both sides of the equation. So we need to look for the smaller x, that would be the 2x, and we want to bring it to the other side by doing the opposite. If it's positive, you subtract. If it's negative, you add. This one's positive, so you subtract. So we want to subtract 2x from both sides. So 12x minus 31 minus 2x equals 2x plus 19 minus 2x. So we subtract 2x from both sides, and so that's the subtraction property of equality. So for this one, I'm fine if you just call it subtract. I know what you mean. If you want to add property of equality on these, POE, property of equality, probably helpful, so you don't get too confused. Okay. Next, again, we do the math out since we subtracted from both sides. So 12x minus 2x is 10x, and the minus 31 drops down. And 2x minus 2x is 0, so we've just got the 19 there, because the 2x minus 2x canceled each other out. And again, we did the math out, so substitution property of equality. Then we have minus 31 here, so add 31 to both sides. 10x minus 31 plus 31 and then plus 31 on the other side as well. So again, that would be, the addition property of equality. Alright, then again we do the math out. So negative 31 plus 31, those cancel to leave 10x. And then 19 plus 31 is 50. We did the math out, so substitution property of equality. So we take 10x and we want to get rid of that 10, so we divide both sides by 10. So division property of equality, and that will give us x equals 50 divided by 10 is 5. End it off with substitution property of equality. Alright, so again, you probably added a few more steps, but the process is still the same. So, same thing we learned last year, you're just showing the steps out more, and you're showing what properties you used. Alright, so for the sponge activity, solve the equation and state the property used for each step. I'm just going to give you one equation for the sponge, make it somewhat easy, I think. So So put it in the table, solve the equation, write the property you used for each step, and go until you get an answer. X equals something. Alright, that's it for the lesson. Once again, please make sure to take notes on the entire lesson. Please make sure to write where you are on the scale, 3, 2, 1, or 0. And take a picture of your notes, submit them to eBackpack, and have a good night.